All right, welcome everyone to the August 6th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. We'll start with an invocation from Commissioner Mitchell, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Davis.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful to be gathered together for our meetings this evening. We're thankful for the many blessings. We're grateful for the area that we live in, for Washington City, and for those who serve and work to make this a very enjoyable place to be. We pray this time as we begin our meeting that would be with each of us and help us to go through each item and take care of the items of business that are needing to be discussed. Help us all to do so in an orderly conduct. Heavenly Father, we pray at this time that would please bless our area with the moisture that we are greatly in need of. And we'll be able to fill our reservoirs and the lakes that are around us to help us to maintain our way of life in this desert. And we thank them this, we pray and do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, before we start the meeting, I would just like to recognize Eldon as our new Community Development Director and took over for Drew. I've been gone for a month, so hopefully we can get through all this, but between Eldon and Thad, I'm sure we won't have a problem. So congratulations, Eldon. First on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Commissioner Davis, I make a motion that we approve tonight's agenda.
Mr. Mitchell, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item number 2 is approval of the minutes from the July 16th, 2025 meeting.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I move that we approve the minutes from our last July 16th meeting.
Commissioner Davis seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Does anyone have any declarations or abstentions tonight? Okay. So jump right in. Item 4A. That is a G-25-04, request to amend the general plan land use map from low density to proposed PUDC located at 2651 South Washington Fields Road. And we will turn this over to Eldon.
Thank you, commissioners, and welcome back. Good to have you. Pull up the maps here. This is the property here we're discussing at this time. The current land use designation at this location is low density residential, and the applicant is proposing a change to PUDC for the possibility of developing the area into a commercial use. Pull up the general plan here. You can see it's currently designated as low density, and they're asking for planned unit development commercial, as shown here in this exhibit. The surrounding general plan land use are low density to the north, east, south, and neighborhood commercial to the west. Staff has reviewed the request and is comfortable with the proposal as it ties into the neighborhood commercial to the west and could provide a buffer from the land adjacent to Washington Fields Road and the existing residential units to the east and south. Staff recommends the Planning Commission recommend approval of G-25-04, amending the general plan land use map from low density to the proposed PUDC as outlined above and shown in this exhibit. That concludes staff report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
You guys have any questions for Eldon?
Just, Ellen, just as Commissioner Davis, just a quick one. As far as to the west, are we talking about, and basically the neighborhood commercial, we're talking across Washington Fields Road?
Yes,
Yeah, so it's bookended by low density at the moment.
correct. This is the general plan map here. It's that red square, that neighborhood commercial.
There hasn't been any changes, right, from the last time that this item came forward? Is it basically the same? Or have they made any adjustments?
Over here. Exact acreage. This,
Is that basically the canal easement, or right close to where the old canal is, where the trail is eventually going to be?
exactly. Other than that, I'm in line with the first submittal.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I know some of the previous concerns were the width of the access. Can you remind me, Alden, what that distance is
Say that one more time. Which distance?
of the access going from
How wide
Washington
the
Fields
road is.
Road? Yeah, how wide can that road be to access the proposed property?
Would refer that to our department. Clarify those specifics for us.
I know we discussed this last time, and I know it hasn't changed, but I don't remember. It's been a minute.
Yeah. It's kind of an oddity. Obviously, that 35-foot wide strip was originally for a single residential unit back there, not a. Can you hear me now?
Eldon, is there? Well, I guess my voice. We might just need you to get closer to the.
I will eat the microphone.
That's what I'm doing. It's rubbing my mustache right now.
As I was saying, the 35-foot wide strip that you see there in the exhibit up there, that was, originally designed for nothing more than a single-family residential back there. When we go to commercial development, or even if we were doing a residential development back there, we would be looking at a 55-foot wide street to go back in there for actual right-of-way. So, and that would be for that'd be for two lanes of traffic, going back and forth in there.
So you're saying it, I realize that this isn't really a concern, but because this is that would come next in the step, but we're looking at it right now, it wouldn't meet access management for a commercial use with that road being that close to Lost Ridge and only being 35 feet wide.
So we would have two different standards we'd be looking at there. So access management would deal with the proximity of the entry point to the property in regards to the intersection there at Lost Ridge, Merrill, and Washington Fields Road. That distance on Washington Fields Road would be 330 feet for a right-in, right-out only, and 660 for full movement. That distance is about 200 feet. So
not even for a right in, right out.
that's a problem. And like I said, this was originally a part of a single-family residential.
Yeah, it's what we were handed, and that's what it's been. That's what it's zoned now. And then coming out, if they tried to use the one coming out where the canal road is, that's not wide enough access either, correct?
I'd have to see what their
You can't tell.
configuration.
I mean,
Yeah, I'd have to-
it's not wide enough. I mean, when you drive over the road, it's not wide enough. I can tell that by passing it.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
you're probably right. At the general plan amendment stage, we don't usually measure roads or whether they're adequate. What we need to see, and again, you're not seeing it tonight, but what we need to see is a site plan that would then be evaluated for trips, and then there would be determination as to whether that road is or isn't. Without spoiling, any amazing secrets, there is the likelihood that you will see a different access with a different width when you see the actual zoning and the site plan.
Meaning there's the potential of purchasing more property to expand options?
Purchasing an easement for a roadway that's not so close to the Merrill Road intersection, and that would service the other vacant properties, the vicinity. So on the northerly property line, there's a concept of purchasing and dedicating an easement at that location. But your questions are right. What we don't know, what John doesn't know is what the site plan's gonna require a roadway to be. If it's gonna be a house, that roadway, that roadway is gonna suffice, right?
Right, but if there's not, I mean, and I understand we don't know what's coming in, but how do we? I just, yeah, okay, never mind. It's hard to try to plan if we don't know where they can come into besides right there. And that's how I'm looking at it is, I know it's low density and I understand that, but I mean, if you put homes back there, you dump a lot of traffic in off of a bad intersection already.
So general planning is not a vested land right. It's a general map that guides zone designations. So if there were to be a zone application, the first question that the planning commission, the staff report looks at is, does this conform with the general plan? And so what's happening tonight is a proposal to amend the general plan to suit the zoning application they wish to submit. At zoning, we can get more specific because you're going to have some details as to what's at least anticipated there. PUD zone, the zoning application is also responsible to show you site plans and all of the uses. And so that'll be the time for you to see the on-site concepts, and that'll be their time to resolve access problems if there are any. And if there aren't, it's well within your purview to deny that zone application because it doesn't meet the requirements of the use they're proposing.
Did this is Commissioner Mitchell again, did the previous proposal go before City Council? Did it go beyond Planning Commission?
Yes,
Did? What was the results of that?
they did not get it at that one either.
Is it this a public hearing, right?
Before it was just a change to go to commercial, not to a PUDC. The previous one was just to go to commercial, not a PUDC where we'd see everything. So when it went, that's why it was denied, because it was just general commercial, I believe.
Yeah, what PUD commercial does is in the city code, it requires some planning at the zoning steps, at the zone phase. And so that usually gives you a better look as to concepts and site plans that are likely to be built if approved. My understanding is largely what they're looking for is similar to what they proposed last time. They've made some changes on site. They've looked at alternate accesses, and so there's a likelihood that when it comes on a zoning application, it'll have some differences, but the uses are I think very similar to what they proposed last time.
All right, this is a public hearing, so we will open this up for public hearing. If anyone would like to get up and address item 4A, please come to the microphone, state your name. We've had comments come in online. We've read them. They're on the record. We do have those. So if you've done so and want to come up and talk, please don't just reiterate what you wrote to us, because we've already read it. And try to keep it as brief and to the point as you can, please.
Okay, my name is Sue Schmidt, and all along the east side of Washington Fields, it's not commercial. Why do two people that recently move into the neighborhood get priority over dozens and dozens of families that bought their homes in that area for a quiet neighborhood environment? That's what I don't understand, is why this is even considering, why you're even considering changing this. It's going to change the neighborhood, traffic, the noise, and who knows what happens if they decide to move and sell it to somebody else. You've just put all the neighbors at risk. You've changed a nice, quiet neighborhood into a commercial development. I understand it's across the street, and a lot of the other commercial developments are on the west side. Is that right? The west side of Washington Fields. I just don't think you ought to do it in an already established neighborhood.
I will respond on the why are we considering this. State land use laws. Washington City is a political subdivision of the state of Utah. State law allows Washington City to adopt zoning laws if we conform with the state's requirements. One of those requirements is that the city adopt a general plan and that the city impanel a planning commission. And so Washington City Planning Commission is required to allow landowners to submit amendment proposals to the general plan. The state law doesn't require that they be approved, but this planning commission is here because state law requires Washington City to consider these type of applications if we wish to have our own zoning laws, which from inception to date, the city leaders want to maintain their own zoning laws and define zoning areas according to their preferences for this area. And so we're doing it because we have to, but that doesn't mean it has to be approved.
Anyone else? You're the applicant. I'll ask for you when we're done.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm Ryan McAllister, and I oppose the zoning or rezoning of this parcel of land, especially as mentioned previously, that it is spot zoning within a residential neighborhood. I could care less what goes in there if nothing else had been established, but as it is established currently and is low-density housing, it should be maintained that way. If the applicant wants to, as he's threatened in the past, to put apartments out there, so be it. That's totally fine, because there would be appropriate buffer zone with the single-family homes and whatnot, but the PUD-C designation's entirely inappropriate for this area and should be denied, again, because of the spot zoning. And you guys have mentioned the lack of entrance. There's also the blind radius and the hill coming down to that intersection, which is essentially Lost Ridge and Washington Fields. In any event, those are many of the reasons which I would suggest to deny it. And even if he is now looking at a possible exit or entry into the Chaparral Ridge neighborhood, that would be entirely inappropriate as well, and want to make that clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Joan Chipman, long time born and raised in the fields. And I think the Burnetts have a great plan for that if there is another access. But I'm afraid that other alternate access that you're looking at is still...
Can you please talk into the mic and talk to us?
is still through our property and my sister's property. And they can't be here tonight. They live in Salt Lake. We really don't want access to our property. I can see the road where my brother had his access is too small, but that could be enlarged perhaps. I mean, I think a wedding venue sounds beautiful, and Jenica's gifted, talented with flowers. My only concern would be if they left and somebody else came in, then what would it become? Because it is residential around there, and of course ours is farm, which we really want to hang on to, and it's increasingly difficult. But that's
What property, which ones are yours? I'm sorry.
it's the top one. The one that adjoins theirs is the west is my sister's. It's the Estlins, and ours is directly north. And my other sister's is directly north of them.
Okay.
But none of them have a problem with what they're planning to do. It's the access to it and how it might change things.
Okay, thank you.
So the rhetorical question of Mrs. Chipman, so she loves what this concept is, but what would happen if they were to leave and somebody else were to inherit this zoning? As PUD, if someone else wanted to change that use, they would need to come back through another hearing like this and provide the city council an amendment to the PUD that shows what they are doing that's different from this. And so it becomes a very specific zone connected to the specific site plan. So if a subsequent owner were to wish to change that, they would need to amend that through this same process. You need to come to the
Ma'am, you
microphone.
need to come to the
ma'am.
microphone, please. We're recording this on YouTube and live, so no one can hear you
Okay.
anywhere else, and they're taking minutes, so
All
please.
right. So my question is, if they got approval and, you know, say it's a lovely venue and she only wants classical music, there's no alcohol, which, you know, they've told us, they're going to limit the guests. Is that in writing anywhere? Or if they sell that in a few years, can someone else come in and have bands play and do it, you know, 5 nights a week or 6 nights a week? I mean, what guarantees do the neighborhood have if you, as the planning commission, change the zoning laws?
So the planning commission doesn't change it. They're a recommending body to the city council. But assuming the
Okay.
city council adopts what you said and those were conditions on their approval, those would be fixed rules against their use under those conditions. If there were to be violations, the neighbors or city folks generally aren't out looking around for music on Saturday night. So if the neighbor said, hey, they're playing rock music and it sounds like Waylon Jennings and that's violative of the approvals, then the city would look into that and pursue it.
So that would be written down someplace,
If-
like how many
if
nights
those
a
were-
week, the hours, the number of crowd, the number of patrons that could come in or
If
guests?
they were conditions of the approval, they would be.
Okay,
Yep,
that was my question.
yep.
Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing portion of this. If you would like to speak now, because I'm going to close it, we're not going to take any more public comment on this. Okay, I will close the public hearing portion of this. Would the applicant like to come up and speak now?
Okay, thank you for having us again. I actually missed the last meeting, so I apologize. But yeah, there's a big difference is PUDC versus general commercial, which gives the city council more control of what happens and hopefully lets the neighbors rest assured that it's controlled. A couple other differences is we did acquire that piece, and we've been working with the city council, every single one of them, extensively for the last 8 months, and they're the ones that wanted us to move forward. Potential access there, one way in, one way out, but also potential widening that with the Esplins. Our overall thing is we love the Harmon family, like what they've created here, and the fields are basically gone in Washington Fields. Our goal is to preserve 80 of our field, which is the east side. So it'd be a perfect buffer from residential into commercial. The city wants to rezone all that commercial if you talk to them in the future. But fortunately, the farmers here, they want to keep it pasture as long as possible, which we hope they do. But we also, in good faith, allowed the city to put a walking path along our property. And so we worked extensively with them. That's on the east side right there, to do what we want to do. Currently, what we're doing is we have the residential home. Right now, we have a flower farm, so we're producing flowers. And we just want to expand production. We want to, and we already have people coming over buying flowers and having workshops. And the community loves it. We're probably doing it like out of zone right now, kind of like Staley Farms did forever. But we want to expand that. We'd like to build a structure on that where we could have seminars, workshops year round, and rent it out for weddings or any kind of event. So I think it's the perfect way to buffer, also preserve the fields as much as possible, and use less water. There's so many great things about this. I think it's a perfect project, and we will work with the city council, which we are, of coming up with a good access. Any questions?
Sure. This is Commissioner Davis. Just when I read the briefing, it speaks to the possibility of developing this into commercial use.
Yes.
Now, what you're talking about an event center, and it sounds like you're already growing and selling flowers and things like that. The ambiguity there caused me to pause. Because, I think about this and there's concern about, what happens if this thing gets flipped to commercial and then the property gets flipped, right? I understand that, there's procedures where it comes back through this body and back through the city council. But, I'd like to hear maybe a bit more about, how steadfast we are
Us?
in this plan. Because
we already
I
have.
detect some ambiguity.
Yeah, we already have renderings, drawings of everything that we want to create. So then it would go to city council for the approval of that project in PUD. I think this is just a general zoning amendment here.
Because again, we're talking about the general plan. We're talking about making an adjustment to the general plan.
Yeah.
Correct.
Correct. That possibility word, as Attorney Thad stated there, this is overview, what could come, and the possibility to proceed in the following steps.
And I know we're reaching further than what we need to, but this is it's right in the middle of low density. I mean, that's why I have the questions I've had so far, just because it is an unknown and it is in the middle of a very nice neighborhood, in my opinion, and low density. And Lost Ridge is busy enough as it is. Where would your access be in?
Access to
this-
Washington Fields Road. On the
Where it is right now?
Yeah.
See, I mean, because from the sounds of it, the farmers are not going to sell you an access
Esplins
into it.
would widen it. They just don't want to have
In the middle.
right down the middle. I'm sure when they generally, plan this out in the future, that's most likely where there'll be an access point, right where all four properties come together.
See, and that's my problem with it, is that we're putting basically a busy road behind residential homes, like right behind them, too close to an intersection to turn in. That's the worst intersection in town. I mean, we've had so many wrecks there already. And then to dump back out onto Lost Ridge again, you come down that hill, you are going fast down it. I drive it every day. I know it's fast. I'm one of the culprits of going too fast down that road. But
Yeah, when's the light going?
I'm sure there's warrants for it and I'm sure it's coming, but that's something you'd have to ask city council about,
It's coming.
And even with the light, it's still a right in, right out. It's still very close to where it would be. And I know we're not supposed to be looking at this, but to zone something, to give it the opportunity to see, all you can do is widen it down that low to it. I don't like the fact that it's coming in off of the village road so close to that one, right behind those nice homes in their backyards that was just a flag lot forever. That's my, with it.
Yeah, Brian, this is Commissioner Mitchell. I'll just kind of share with you some of my thoughts too. And I think, I mean, I feel similar. It just seems strange. My previous comments were, I felt like the city needed to look at the whole map and come up with a plan rather than just singling out this little piece. It just seems like it's, and obviously we're thinking long-term, but we've been around long enough that we realize that that's how things happen. It just seems like it's premature, right? Until there's more property involved, it's hard to piece this together and make it function. Your access is really close to that four-way intersection. So when the cars back up, what does that do? It just seems like we're trying to piece together something that's incomplete. I want to comment too on the other access point that's been purchased that's along the pipeline. It's very, very small. I mean, there's a trail on the other side of that road that goes towards the elementary school that once you get a trail in there, it just seems like it does not leave.
The trail is going up against the fence on the east. So I've met with the city many, many times. And so they moved it over for that purpose.
So you would have a one-way,
Yep.
right? There's no way you'd get two-way, yeah.
Just one way.
Single next to what would be a trail. I think the only reason I struggle with it, I just would encourage the city to come up with a plan for the whole section rather than trying to piece out just this little section.
I think they are.
And that would be,
We don't have a current general plan amendment proposed for that whole area. There's been several comments like yours, and I think from the others, but there's not a current issue for that right now.
Thanks.
Well, I too, as Commissioner Davis, I look at this and the flag lot issues all, are well-founded. And candidly, I look at it and again, what causes me to pause is I'm looking at the overall plan and I see the effect. I see this as low density. It's currently set as low density. And I certainly can have empathy with the residents where they came in there and, it's typically one thing if you have agriculture and it's going to be homes. And you come in there with eyes wide open, and it's going to be homes. And this, without a comprehensive plan or strategy from my chair, is looking a bit premature.
Well, in order to get that plan, we do have to pass this step. And I understand that. And that's why we're here. But with that being said, my hangup is the entrance. And it's with that intersection and coming in, I mean, John said that we're 330 feet for right in, right out, and that's 260 feet. I mean, we're not even to the right in, right out. It's scary enough turning there if someone else is trying to from the intersection. So, I mean, it works for a flag lot and for what it is. I mean, if they had the entrance to the north of them, but again, they don't want to split. They don't want to move that entrance to the north, and I understand that. But, I mean, that's what it is.
That's what you need.
It's what you need, and that's the now. I mean, that's what it is. It was low density, and that's how I feel as well.
this is Commissioner Mitchell. I know we're thinking prematurely, but I'm still, even my thoughts of, okay, they acquire more property and make their options more. Even then, I feel like there just needs to be general planning involved rather than just piecing out this single piece. Get the full piece.
Yeah, you can't.
Someday it's going to become something, right?
Right,
So
but we
it's like
can't dictate what the other guys want to
Yeah.
do. If they want low density, they'll put low density in there because that's what it's zoned right now. I mean, the market could change and low density is the big thing to do. But I mean, this is how we get to those zoning changes. not opposed to the event. I'm not opposed to the event center. I'm opposed to the access to the event center and getting away from it, because we could look at it and zone it and get it to come in and look really nice. You know, I mean, heck, there's houses that back Staley Farms that has events going on all the time, and everybody, you know, either you love them or you hate them. It's Staley Farm. I get it, but the traffic going into Staley Farms is a nightmare, especially coming up this October. It's going to be a pain, like every year. But we all enjoy it. Our kids love it. But this is something that's in the middle, and where the access isn't at the right spot, I don't feel comfortable with it. I mean, and I know that's not what we need to be looking at, but in the same sense, we still need to look at it that way, because there's no access to them. To zone something that you can't have access to change the zone for something you don't have access to is hard for me.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think, unfortunately for the applicant, my thoughts are very similar to the previous meeting for the same piece of property.
So we need to make a motion on this.
There's only 3 of you, so make the motion that'll get 3 votes, because otherwise nothing will pass. 3 is the required vote to pass with the quorum.
So Commissioner Davis, I'll make a motion for denial of item G2504, the request to amend the general plan use map from LD to the proposed PUDC located at 2651 South Washington Fields Road, fundamentally driven by the ambiguity with respect to the access that Planning Commission would not be able to approve at this time.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I second.
First by Commissioner Davis, the second by Commissioner Mitchell. Individual voting, Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
I'm Commissioner Bullock. I'm an aye as well. So this will go to City Council with the recommendation for denial. Next is item 4B. Z-25-17, a request to change the zoning of 3.6 acres located at approximately 990 East George Washington Boulevard from the current R110 zoning to a proposed PUDR zoning designation. And we'll give this to Eldon.
This item was tabled during June 18th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting to allow the applicant to make changes to the plan. The applicant has provided an updated plan showing the type of home that could be built in this subdivision and has removed 1 lot from the original plan for a total of 13 lots for a new density per unit acre ratio of 3.61. Lastly, the original plan showed the trail stubbing to the subdivision to the north, and as seen in the exhibit, this is now a looped trail system. I can pull up those building elevations as well. They've provided a couple options here to show what could come on these lots. If I remember correctly, some of the comments were, can a garage and front door fit facing the street? And it looks like they're showing that. On the bigger lots, they have an option to do a third car garage. That concludes staff report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Eldon, I know, so this one previously had an access to the joining community. They've removed that.
It was just the trail.
trail, but they've looped it now instead of going into that other subdivision. Yeah.
Correct, yes. Yes, I'm not sure if the HOA denied them on that request or they just couldn't connect. The applicant could speak to that.
So the changes are loop trail, we've removed one unit or one lot, and we have now some elevations, some concept elevations of potential models.
Correct, and with the removal of one lot, obviously these lots did get bigger, not significantly, but it was absorbed into these now 13 lots.
At the R110, how many lots were there? 8? Is that what it was?
I believe so.
Because that was on there,
Lots, yes.
those 8.
And again, the changes came from a fault line.
Right. Good. I can't hear you. Yes, this will be a public hearing. All right, we'll open this up for public comment at this time. If anyone would like to speak to item 4B.
Good evening. My name is Tony Bodell, and I just have a couple of concerns. I remember the last meeting, that we were all here. I believe Commissioner Bullock, you suggested that they cut it back more than just one, but several lots. Number 2, I have a concern about the path because I understand that their HOA will take care of the path, but not necessarily take care of the landscaping, which is supposed to be natural. And I can understand that, except for the fact that when the wind blows, not all of them, obviously, a lot of the tumbleweeds end up in my backyard. And I was told, well, I've got a block wall that they won't do that. And I said, come and see my pickleball court sometime after a big wind. So I do have a concern about those 2 issues.
Thank you. Well, there's not much we can do about the wind blowing the tumbleweeds into your backyard. Whether it's them or the neighbors that just don't landscape their backyard. Anyone else would like to speak to this?
Tumbleweeds get better as the areas around you build out. And so these areas that are out near wide open spots, especially wide open spots that have been disturbed where tumbleweeds thrive, they get tumbleweeds in a bad way and up until things get developed around them. And so it'll get better someday, but it's gonna need something to happen on some of those lands to get better for you.
And I do understand that. My problem is that if, they're going to maintain the pathway, that's fine, but they also need to maintain the area around it and keep the weeds out of there so that those weeds aren't there. And I don't know if that's part of their plan, but it should be.
Anyone else like to speak to?
This is Peggy Benson, and I just have a question more than anything. I could see that there was a wall, a retaining wall on the left side and a little bit on the north, but it looked like where the loop was, there was nothing. And I'm just wondering if there's a reason. I mean, it just looks like a straight line, and I don't know what that straight line means. And so it looks like that whole area will just be open, and that seems like it needed to somehow be closed in or something. I don't know. Just to keep it. That area that's to the to the east right now is used by kids on bikes and that kind of stuff. And if there's nothing to stop them, they'll be going through all that area too. So that's just was my concern and question about it. I don't know if it needs to be addressed now or later or what, but.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll close the public hearing portion of this. And is the applicant here? Would he like to speak?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Rick with Bush and Gudgel, and appreciate your time and consideration of this project again. Just a couple of items with the building footprints and models that we provided. Just want to make note that there are several narrow lots, but there are some that even a third car garage will be available as an option for those also. And then just want to make note also at the north end, we did meet with the HOA, Roadrunner Ridge HOA president, and they weren't in favor of that connection trail through there. There's kind of an elevation difference there as well, so it'd make it kind of, it would impede that design, I guess, of the construction of the trail there. And so that's why, you know, between them not wanting the trail to go through and then also just that constructability, we decided not to put the trail through. And then in addition, they wanted to just cut it off completely. And so we added a block wall, a 6-foot block wall along the top of, or the north end of lot 7 there. So that, I mean, all the lots will have block walls along the back, but we showed that specifically so that it'd be clear that that'll just be walled off. It'll both help with unwanted access through there, and then also with the tumbleweeds going. I know tumbleweeds can go over walls, but it'll help a little bit, I think. So anyway, just happy to help any answer any questions, and really appreciate your time again. So.
Yeah, so this is Commissioner Mitchell. Rick, so you mentioned that there will be retaining walls in the back of each lot.
There won't be retaining walls in the back. There'll be the 6-foot block wall.
6-foot block wall.
The
So
privacy walls.
the retaining is just up in that upper, would be the northwest corner?
Right, along the, you can see it right there on that one, kind of on the north side of the west boundary line and the west side of the north boundary line.
And then just to clarify, so your renderings with the 3-car garage, does that work on each lot or only selected lots?
With the 3-car garage, it would just be on the wider lots, like, for example, lot 5, 6, and 7, they would probably all be able to fit a 3-car. I'm not sure exactly which lots would be able to fit the 3, but.
So do you have a rendering of the other lots, or what would fit on the other lots? Obviously, it would probably just be a single.
We haven't there's at least the 2-car garage, isn't? Each of them have at least a 2-car garage.
So you take off the third,
Yeah.
obviously, to get it to fit on. So you'd have so the renderings really only apply to lots that are allowed or wider.
The 3rd car does, yeah. The remainder of the rendering applies to all of them. But we don't know, who's going to want which, house on each lot, so we didn't place them on the lots, but.
This is Commissioner Davis. When we met before, it was, the conversation was leaning more towards the thrifting of 2, 3, potentially 4 lots, getting these back to a little larger size. You've been able to remove 1. Everything to the west here is, or I'd say to the east these are small. This is 13 units in a pretty tight space still.
Yeah.
It's 10 pounds and a 5 pound. So.
It's a
just
lot, yeah.
what-
When,
And, completely understand it. I mean, you're, hamstrung, with the fault and things like that, but, this is significant deviation from from the original zoning with the 8. And why only one? Why are we not seeing something that has, that these other lots are a little bigger?
yeah, that's a great question. We weren't part of the original zoning. I don't know if Lance, the current owner, was part of that or not. Do you know, Eldon, if he was the applicant for the original one? He was, okay. I don't know what his reasoning was for changing it up and adding more density, adding more units. I do know that they want to kind of target a more affordable housing. Obviously, if you can get these smaller houses, the houses on these smaller lots, you can make them more affordable. If you can keep costs down, you can keep the final price down. And we all know that, I've got kids that are growing up and becoming adults and stuff, and I'm kind of worried for them myself, that things are going up and so that both to keep the prices down, to keep prices affordable, and then also it still meets city code and city standard for the zoning. And so they just wanted to go this route, so.
I could just piggyback on that. I asked Lance that same question, and we as staff were concerned with that, and I think one of the selling points is the busyness of George Washington Boulevard. Bigger lots typically cost more money, a nicer home. So I know if he was here tonight, he would argue that these are going to be less affordable off of a busier road connecting to SR7 as well, just to add to what Rick said there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It's just really tight.
It is, yeah, for sure.
I got nothing. We're good, thanks.
All right, thank you.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. This looks similar. I was just thinking of the subdivision that we just approved along the river, where they went to a tighter density on some of those lots. Lots are similar to the size of those. So then it just comes down to location. And I'm still kind of going back and forth, but on this one, I'm based on Eldon's comments, it does help. I know that they have right there to the west is the little school or correction, whatever you would call it. The only potential is the other little triangle that's next to it that could potentially come something. Yeah, based on being on that very busy road. I don't know. We did ask for more lots to come out.
What is the, sorry.
I had,
I was going to say, what is the size of the lots just to the south, Eldon? Does it tell us about this? Are those, I know that's a PUD as well.
it's kind of gives you a perspective, yeah. Yeah, that. I believe it was an Ent subdivision.
Just to the south is R18, so a minimum of 8,000 square foot or larger. And then to the north is RA1. Those are not 1 acre lots. They were given bonus density credits in there. So those are similar to 8,000 and above lots as well.
Or, I think the amenities, not really an amenity. It's kind of for a PUD, I think it's just a waste of association dues, and I just don't like it. I'd be fine with an R18, but these aren't even 8,000 square foot lots, some of them. Some were 5, 6, 10. So, where it's, 2 or 3 more lots, you might have some bigger lots in there. 13 lots dumping on that street is quite a bit, in my opinion.
If they could have removed what we originally had planned, you take out another 2 lots I wonder what that would do to the square footage of the remainder.
It would
It
put
would
it
get
in,
it
it would put it in
closer to-
R18. I mean, they're at an R110 now.
Yeah,
I would say leave it in R110 because I think the amenities are kind of a joke and we're dumping a lot more in there than it was to begin with. I know it was, when it first came, it was quite the ordeal to get it, you know. Very, very few people wanted, I mean, the neighbors to the north weren't happy with it when we went to R18, but that R110, and I thought that was a good fit for in there. So that's my opinion on it, was just to leave it as the R110.
another thought too, like rather than creating the amenities, just allow that space. Would it be better cared for
By the homeowner.
by a homeowner rather than an HOA?
Yeah, and that's my opinion on it too. But then by doing that though, you can't get this many lots in here. So, because it's not a PUD.
That's correct.
So by lowering that down to a PUD, then you have to give it an amenity, and the amenity's kind of junk. So lower it down, get rid of the amenity, add it to those ones. I know the fault line's in there and it causes grief for them. But, I mean, that's Southern Utah property.
I don't want to speak for Lance, but during the last meeting, he said he was happy to change up the amenities. And maybe Rick or the applicant could speak to that.
Are you the applicant?
Great.
Thanks. My name's Skylar Tolbert with Ivory Homes. So Lance is the applicant, and we're here to represent him as well. I might just address a few of the comments, and maybe if you don't mind going back to the previous plan that Lance had worked on. That was prior to our involvement on the project. So 3 of those lots that were done here are really unbuildable. And I understand that there's the fault there, and that's part of the change, which is why the amenity in the PUD, right? And your code requires an amenity to come with that. You know, we could extend those lots much deeper and remove it, but that's the point of the PUD, right? And so that's the reason for that, just, and why that cul-de-sac bends just a little bit how it does. Before it just didn't bend, and you couldn't even build 3 of those lots. They're just not buildable how it was designed previously. George Washington is, you know, going to become, and now, one of your busiest east-west corridors through, you know, the valley here. You've got major intersections there. Part of the reason too for the request for a little bit higher density is we aren't connecting into any of the neighborhoods. This is its own isolated neighborhood. These neighbors on the north would have a couple of neighbors, whether it's this current density or lesser, you know, because you'd still have 2 neighbors, backyards fronting that north. We're also next to the facility that you'd mentioned to the west there. So we felt like it was an appropriate place to increase the density just slightly to where we're at. We've got lots as big as almost 12,000 square feet on this. And I didn't bring it with me, but I think about 60% of these do fit a 3rd car garage on this plan. Not every lot would be required to have the 3rd car, but that's what it is. I'd be happy to do a traffic study for 13 lots, but we would learn that that would be a rounding error with, you know, those cars coming out to George Washington Boulevard on a traffic study for something like this small of a project here. But I just wanted to clarify a few of those things, and happy to answer anything else you might have for us.
So you have one lot that's close to 12,000. You have one that's 10. The remainder of them are much smaller than 12.
Yeah, 9, 8. I mean, we could run an average, but you're probably 75 to 8 on average, close to it. And truthfully, we could probably bump into that open space corridor a little bit more and, you know, increase the size of these lots. Which doesn't, again, change the density. It gets the lot size up, but the widths, which are essentially the same thing.
What is the landscape of the amenities going to be? Is that going to be a paved trail? What would the landscape be?
It's natural.
Yeah, it'd be an asphalt trail back there. We'd probably put a little bench, just a little walking area for somebody, and then leave it as a more natural look. When you only have 13 homes, it becomes expensive if you rock it and put shrubs and drip system throughout that whole thing. So we're really trying to find a fine line between where it's located. It's not going to connect into any other residential neighborhood here. It's going to, no matter what, it's going to be its own isolated community on one of your busiest roads, east and west corridors throughout the city. And the market really dictates what you can build. Most people, on these big lots don't want to live here. Where there's just 4 or 6 of them. And you can sell the fault and put it in their backyard, but it's not the same. So.
With a bigger lot, what is as far as if they go back to the way it's currently, it was initially set up, and we have all the issues with the fault and all of that. From a building standpoint, what could they do with the large yard? I mean, are they able to even put a pool back there or anything like that, or would that kind of be off limits?
So structures, which the city classifies pools as structures, would have a hard time being permitted on the fault line. But all of the other usual yard type uses that are surface uses would be fine. Yeah.
Substantial like that would be.
Something that needs a building permit is gonna run into the fault line issue. Now, there's sometimes ways to mitigate that. And, usually mitigation adds expense, but there's some lot owners that are willing to do that. But yeah, the fault's gonna it's gonna be an issue on plan review for any sort of a permit that's sought upon it.
So I guess what we're really talking about is, the previous plan was 8 lots. So we're talking about just 5 additional homes here, hitting a little bit better price point, in this specific location. A similar product we've been building in St. George City proper that's been great for us. And I think this would be an appropriate location for that.
Similar square footage, similar plans, basically, as what was presented.
Yeah, I think, did we show square footages on
Okay.
those?
Yeah, they range from, I think, 18.5 to 21.25 square feet.
Right, yeah.
You're looking at those things.
Are we going to be asking for a setback relief on these, where it's a PUD? Are we looking to shorten up where the houses go, the setbacks on the houses, or what are our setbacks on these houses?
They haven't asked for reduced setbacks, would be our standard PUD.
Which is?
20 on the feet on the front, 10 in the rear, and 5 on the sides, maintaining 15 feet between homes.
So you'd still be able to get parking on the sides?
Parking on the sides would be an option.
Did you want to say something?
No, I just kind of.
Oh.
Can I maybe suggest something on the setbacks? I'd even be willing to agree to something on lot 6 and 7, which is the neighbor that we are disturbing the most. I think he just said that the setback's 10 feet. I would be happy to write into this, agree to it, like a 20 foot or 30 foot to really buffer that additionally from those neighbors to the north.
Well, I'm not worried about the neighbors to the north with your setbacks. I'm worried about everybody parking on the street and having these smaller lots with not much to them. I mean, a 5,000 square foot lot's really small.
Yeah, on one of them, that is the smallest.
And they're just narrow, and that's my thing. I mean, and you probably took one out on the east, correct? I don't.
Well, we
see
took
where
it
the last
out
one
and
was.
then just kind of, spread it up amongst all of them.
Right.
We didn't necessarily just give it to 4 lots.
I just
with the-
see,
So really, you'd be, each home without street parking could park 4 cars. If we add a 3rd car, then obviously you're almost parking 6, because then you're
you can
widening the
park, well, you can
driveway.
park 2 in the garage and 2
2 in the
outside the
garage,
garage.
2 in
And
the
we all know
driveway.
no one parks in the garage.
On a small one.
Well, we
Just-
count it.
That's
I
the
mean,
home
it's-
gym.
I mean, I
Per
understand,
code.
that's
Right.
code, and I understand that, but, and then I don't know, I worry about the amenity. I think it's, for a PUD, it's not much. It's by far bare minimum.
I just want to reiterate the side yard setbacks. It's 5 and 10 on the sides. So they have the option to go 5 feet or 10 feet on the other. You can flip that however they play, maintaining 15 feet between homes. I think I misstated that earlier.
And on something like this, we do this a lot in Salt Lake County and Davis and Weber, Utah County. When we have a 5 and a 10, we alternate, so it does become 15 on one side. And then that does allow additional, if somebody wanted to have an RV spot or something like that, they have that additional parking there.
So with the amenities, obviously you have HOA, you have fees that will come with that. What does that do to the affordability when you're tacking on additional fees for the homeowner? So I'm still just kind of going back to the reasoning of having those amenities. What could be done to eliminate the amenities and allow the homeowners to take care of the space?
If we went to an R18, which is basically what it is to the south,
So you gotta lose the pipe
you'd
law.
lose that, turn it all into the homeowners that own that, and instead of the HOA taking care of it.
Or you could just say something like, we find that an undisturbed, naturally surfaced amenity is, open space is the amenity. In other words, don't build anything, just leave it open. That then has no maintenance. If a developer builds that trail and does some site surfaces, it's not a significant expense to maintain something like that each year, but in my experience, HOAs are trying to, reduce their rates and minimize how much they spend every year. And so I'm sure that the HOA would look at that one with a similar concept of frugality. Within the code, it's required. I think you could say, interpreting the code, we would rather just an undisturbed area there and call that the amenity because it's just an open area within, dense buildings. I think you could maybe do something like that. In your case, I think you just express your concerns and let the city council wrestle.
Yeah.
Ones that make the final decision.
Because I do still, yeah, you pave that, it's gonna require maintenance, which then puts that task on the homeowners. As the asphalt cracks, raises. Yeah, I think kind of got my thoughts in mind. Do you got anything more to add? I don't know if I have any more questions for the applicant. Does anybody else?
I don't. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we do need a motion, unless you want to talk about it some more. What is it? Whatever we decide, it still goes to city council. So, and and there's only the three of us, so whatever, I mean, kind of need to figure it out so that, like, I still think there's too many lots in there myself, but I understand the price point and all that, but, you know, I mean, we're not the ones that bought the land, you know, it is what it is. I mean, moving one lot would make them a little bit bigger. I don't know, I mean, this is a hard one, because I feel like there's too many lots in that, but, you know, maybe there's not.
It is a hard one, because, I mean, you think about it, if it is a difficult, like, if you make the lots a certain size, I get
Because that fault line's in there, but that fault line's
fault
not.
line and the location. I mean, I get the perspective of wanting to try to shrink it down to make it more affordable and more attractive based on location. I don't know if that's the end result. I mean, you still take out a few more lots. I feel like somebody's gonna still live there.
Oh, yeah, it'll sell.
Yeah, I think what you're looking at is, I mean, you assume 2 cars per household, it could be more, somebody has, you know, toys or what have you, and that street, that cul-de-sac is gonna be all parked up in the whole thing. It's gonna be very tight and very crowded.
Yeah, and you know, where the 10 is if we can put the 10 on the garage side, that'd be the best. I mean, 5, whatever, I mean, but we're not here to design their homes.
Absolutely.
And my other thought is what else is gonna go in there? And I feel like the location, based on this little bit of higher density, is not affecting that much. Like, if we need affordable housing, this makes more sense as far as location than some of the others that we've allowed to happen.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I wish that number 13 lot was bigger, but it is what it is, and move on from there.
It's entry level. And it's gonna be right on the street. We're right on the George Washington Boulevard, pretty much. The PUD part's a little squirrely for me, just because of that amenity. It just doesn't,
Well, it's not gonna it doesn't fall into 8,000, because there's not 3,000 feet behind it to gather up more property. Even with the fault line in there, there's not enough. If they lose a lot, they probably could hit 8,000 and push them all the way to the back and get R1A. And not have to do amenity. I don't know.
Yeah, the other thought, you know, if you do leave that open space, or not open space, or just undeveloped or whatever, you take the chance of, you know, you don't know what it'll become. I like the idea of it being maintained somehow. If you put it back into the lots, then it makes the lots more expensive, so you kind of lose the affordability of the lots. So it's just tough. So then you go back and forth. If you push it back into the lots, they're not affordable anymore. If you leave it out, it may not be maintained. You leave it like it is, there's a chance of some maintenance.
I mean, all in all, that's really not our concern. You feel comfortable with that many lots in that little area.
Based on location,
And the amenity.
I'm leaning that way.
And the amenity.
Yeah.
So make a motion.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I make a motion that we approve or recommend approval for G-25-04, a request to amend the general plan land use map from LD from low density to the proposed PUDC.
No, wrong one. We
Am I on
just
the
we
wrong
just
one?
we just denied that one.
I didn't click on the right one when I went to sorry. All right, start over. Recommend approval of Z-25-17, a request to change the zoning of 3.6 acres located at 990 East George Washington Boulevard from the current R110 zoning to a proposed PUD-R zoning designation with the 7 There are 2 findings and 7 conditions.
Commissioner Davis seconds the motion.
So I have a first by Commissioner Mitchell, a second by Commissioner Davis. Individual voting. Commissioner Mitchell, sorry.
Aye.
Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
I'm Commissioner Bullock. I would like to see City Council look at this and maybe suggest losing a lot, recommending it. I don't know, I think it should be R18 and, or something. I don't see how losing an amenity is going to cost the lots more, but I'm not that guy. So, but I'll be an aye as well on this one, a tentative one. So look, it passes and goes to City Council. And
So one of the fun things of being a recommending body is you can say, look, I'm voting aye, but for the council to hear it and recommend it, but here's other recommendations. And just like you've done, I think you've done a good job of giving them your perspective and kind of the citizen planner side point. And so,
thank you. Item number 5 is adjournment. I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
This is Commissioner Mitchell, I move that we adjourn.
Davis seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. We'll start the land use here shortly. All right, welcome everyone to the Land Use Authority meeting for August 6th, 2025. We will start with the approval of the agenda.
Commissioner Davis, I move that we approve tonight's agenda.
Commissioner Mitchell, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of minutes from the July 16th, 2025 meeting.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I move that we approve the minutes from our previous meeting.
Commissioner Davis seconds.
First from Commissioner Mitchell, a second from Commissioner Davis. All in favor?
Aye.
Declaration of abstentions or conflicts. Does anyone have any? All right. Item 4A is the Pink Sands Minor Subdivision. The final plat approval for the Pink Sands Minor Subdivision located at approximately Red Sands Drive and White Sands Drive. The application is civil science, and we'll turn the time over to Eldon.
Thank you. Land use, here's the parcel that we're looking at, highlighted there. Recently rezoned, and now they're following up with a minor subdivision. Splitting it in half. The applicant is asking to split the current 0.46 acres into two parcels for single-family development. The current zoning at this location is R18. The surrounding zoning is R18 to the north, east, south, and west. Staff has reviewed the proposal, finding it conforming to the standards as set forth in the zoning regulations and subdivision ordinances of the city. Staff recommends the Land Use Authority approve the Pink Sands minor subdivision based on the following findings and conditions stated in staff report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Go ahead.
Can you give us a background on this? I can't remember. I know it was part of a PUD that a park that went bad or that never got built. What was it again? That was a long time ago.
Yeah, a lot of history there. Maybe I'll flip to the maps here. Dad, are you up to speed on the land swap here?
Yes.
Can you give us some background? I'm just curious what it was. I can't remember.
So if you look at the little cul-de-sac there and the vacant lot to the right, see that big, long vacant lot? That was, that one there. That was amenity space from a previous subdivision that the developer never built and then has been left just unkept and problematic for decades. And so again, our discussion in between meetings, sometimes these spaces don't end up being amenities, right? The HOA came together with the owner of the lot just across the cul-de-sac. Eldon, if you'll highlight that one. That's currently highlighted was owned by a private owner, and then the one just to the southwest of it was owned by the HOA. So the HOA and that private owner came to the city, and there was a three-way agreement between the HOA, the owner, and the city. The city was going to take the two HOA pieces, and the owner was going to give his current lot to the city, and the city would give the smaller of the HOA pieces. And so the city ended up with both lots on either side of the cul-de-sac. And the agreement includes the city's commitment to develop those into a trail amenity, essentially about 2.5 acres of open space that'll be adjacent to the trail. I've seen some concepts, but there's no construction plans at this point. Imagine things like a water station, a bike repair station, a canopy that provides shade in a little bit of a grassy area where a family could maybe stop from trail recreation and take a break. So not a full-fledged park, but certainly a lot more than a hole that's full of just old junk and weeds and things. In exchange, the landowner who participated in that got the lot that was then an orphaned HOA lot. And part of that exchange contemplated that the size of the lot he would receive and the city code would permit him to submit for a lot split if he wanted to. there are some significant slope issues from curb to back of the lot. It slopes down very steeply, and so I was not certain that he was going to want to do that until he was able to study and get some expert just analysis on how much it was going to cost him to do that. At this time, he is asking to do that. And so we understand and believe that that'll eventually be 2 home sites instead of 1, but there's substantial expense to mitigate all of that.
And it cleans up the neighborhood for everyone else.
Does a lot of things that weren't happening. So the prior lot he had, the cul-de-sac hadn't been dedicated to the public, so it was non-buildable because he didn't have enough frontage on the city road to even fit a driveway. And so his prior lot was hampered by the history of the HOA never finishing out that public area and dedicating the rest of the road. And so he was really stuck between a rock and a hard place, literally. And so this will result in a improved, finished public space type amenity along the trail and provide two housing lots, which previously there was just 1. And so, yeah, it's going to be a increase in available housing and also an increase in just public space available along the trail. And so it's generally viewed as a successful win-win-win type of an agreement. And it is correct that during about the year and a half that came about, the city we couldn't agree that he would be approved. This is the type of thing that goes to the body for a decision like tonight. But the city agreed that the concept of a lot split was something that they would entertain.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, this is a public hearing too. So this is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak to this okay, I'll close the public hearing and look for a motion, or if you guys have any other questions.
Questions? No.
Mitchell, I move that we approve the final plat of Pink Sands Minor Subdivision located at Red Sands Drive and White Sands Drive. The 2 findings and 4 conditions.
Commissioner Davis seconds the motion.
First by Commissioner Mitchell and a second by Commissioner Davis. Individual voting, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Bullock, I'm an aye as well. So congratulations, that one passed. Item number 5A is an amended plat approval for the Primavera Commercial Partial Amendment A subdivision located at 70 North Green Springs Drive. R&R Development is the applicant. We will turn the time over to Eldon.
I'll pull up the maps here. This piece is just north of the Maverick and Panera Bread there. Wanting to subdivide this piece, and then I'll turn it to the proposed plan here. The reason for this amendment is to adjust the south property line adjacent to Maverick and subdivide Lot 3, which was that highlighted lot, into a total of 5 lots, as shown on the plat. Public utility access and drainage easement is being recorded with this plat. No other changes are being made at this time. Staff has reviewed the proposed amended final plat and finds it conforms to the C2 zoning of this development. The subdivision also remains in compliance with the subdivision ordinance of the city. Staff recommends the Land Use Authority approve the Primavera Commercial Partial Amendment A subdivision based on the following findings and conditions as stated in the staff report. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
So just so that we're clear and we can maybe learn a little bit for us up here, it was all one lot originally, and we're splitting it into to 5 different lots, but it's not a big deal because they already had these going in kind of like Kohl's and the bank and all that. It's kind of, they were all gonna go in there originally, but now we're just splitting it up and giving them their own parcel ID numbers, basically.
So the plan was to produce big commercial lots that would be the least hindrance on planning as it came along. But yes, it's, for some time, we've seen concepts that show these multiple small lots at that area. And so this is consistent with what we've thought was coming for a while. But yeah, the original lot creation transaction left them big, left them open to be able to be parceled out if that's what was to come.
So, I mean, there's nothing there. So these are just lots. And they'll have a shared driveway, shared parking lot, all of it. Because we haven't done any of these. I don't think this body has as a commercial like this. Is it like an because it's not like, is it like an HOA that pays it? Is that how that works? Where it's shared parking, stuff like that? Just so that we understand, or at least I understand, because I'm not sure how that
No, I
works.
get you. And you're referring to where In and Out and
Yeah, because
Cache Valley. Yeah.
There's two options. The most common one is the development is owned by a master landlord that charges fees within the lease agreements to the various tenants, and then they maintain the roadways and the parking and all of that. That's what you see by Best Buy and those places. And so a year ago or so, there was a truck issue and people went up there and used that parking lot to burn their willies and do that stuff, and there was damage. It wasn't Boot Barn that was on the hook for that damage. It was the master landlord. And so I'm just using that as an example, right? That was a real issue. It wasn't Boot Barn that needed to call and report the damage. It was the master landlord because it was theirs. Now, I think the tenants helped advise the police of what was going on. But there's that possibility here. I don't know for sure, but that's what's going on here. But I think that's probably it, is that this will be a master-owned area by the development, and then there will be leases for the individual parcels. If they are to go and sell the individual parcels and parcel the ownership out, there will need to be an association and a set of bylaws and rules as to how they share all those expenses.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Then just for perspective, adjacent to this, you have Panera, the car wash, soon to be another bank. Is that a similar setup, or are those all unique parcels, unique ownership? Just perspective.
So Maverick is a lease, and so Maverick pays a rental to a landlord, and then I believe that rental requires Maverick to maintain the whole lot, because Maverick took down the whole lot. Maverick's duties are to take care of all of it, driveways, parking, and all of that. Panera Bread, I believe, is also a leased lot, and so it's all going to depend on how the landlord and tenant have handled their purposes. In this case, what's unique is there are ways and thoroughfares, much larger space that service individual lots. And so I believe that's why and the reason I believe it is I believe they are intending to build and own the hotel that's going to go in there, the same developer. And so I think it's going to be a development in one total ownership, that ownership will then have an agreement within their lease that says we maintain everything and we'll assess you an annual fee for the cost of that. Cases, things like trash and other services are all made in common as well, and it's just all included in a total fee of doing business in that location.
Okay, thank you. And Eldon, the assumption here is 3A would be the Homewood or the Garden Inn or whatever, the Hilton property.
Yes, the hotel would be 3A.
And same height as the existing ones. We're not going to have a height discussion or height waiver discussion here, but I'm assuming it's
They'll
all
come back for the
same.
conditional use permit.
Right.
For those. Yeah, I was just curious because you see roads, and on the other basic subdivisions, we see a road, some way to get into them, access, because some of these, there's not access into them. That's why I was wondering if it was like a subdivision type, where it's a big parking lot.
Yep, so another good example is the Walmart entryway. The city gets very frequent complaints about the asphalt there because if you've driven there, but the subdivision that owns the entire unit between Walmart, Home Depot and the others is who really owns that. The city doesn't, and that ownership changes when it reaches the back of the curbing on the roadway, but not before then. And so the city can't go in and do it. Walmart needs to either complain to their landlord and say, hey, this is bad enough that we're losing customers. But if the Walmart and Home Depot aren't complaining, usually the landowner's not hearing anything, right? And so you kind of get a scenario like what we have, which is it gets pretty bad before it gets fixed, right? But yeah, the problem there is it's not the cities, it's not the tenants, it's kind of the master subdivision owner, and they don't drive that route very often. And so we don't know for sure, but this one has the look and feel of something that's got a master owner that just takes care of all of that in common, and then issues an expense report every year and expects it to be paid as part of the lease obligations.
And the reason the lots are funky shaped and big is to fit whatever they need on that lot line?
Correct, yeah, those buildings have been predetermined to fit those lots, access easements to go around. Yes, there's been a lot of time and effort put into that by the civil engineer.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's just a learning experience for us, if I can take it for a second. And
Eldon,
so I can
are you able to zoom in on the amendment note there on the right side? You'll see the general notes. Amendment note there, do you guys see that? The purpose of this amendment is to redefine Lot 3 due to that's a misspelling, wrong word, due to the previous transfer of land on the south. So make the Maverick deal work. They sold a sliver of land, and we'll be able to show you that. And then to subdivide the bigger lot that remains into 4, right? And so lot boundaries changed because they had to sell some more to Maverick to get that to work. But the other one was part of the plan all along, which was we're going to eventually subdivide this into smaller lots once we know what's going to go on there. Can you go back to the plat? And they'll be able to see the Maverick piece that was pulled out. See that Maverick section there, right at it says Maverick Inc. Maverick had to come in and they acquired the old Chevron, acquired the lot to the east, and then pick some up to the north, that long kind of triangular that ends in a triangle. And so the reason for this plat was to make some changes due to that and then actually subdivide the lots, which is what you're seeing.
Okay, yeah, I'm just so that it makes it easier for when if we get another one of these while we're still on this.
Sometimes these plats give a note like that that's really helpful, right? And this one I thought was, it tells us exactly why they're doing it.
Yeah, and it's just nice for us because like if we usually see a subdivision come in, we're like, where's the roads? How's this gonna work? And who's paying for them? But it's basically a private subdivision. And the HOA, if they do sell them off, they'll have to have an HOA where they maintain their parking and all that stuff.
Correct, yep. In this case, the master owner is taking the burden and risk of if he doesn't provide adequate access and adequate flow through, that his lots are not going to have commercial value, right?
Right.
But yeah, in my experience, they're motivated to make that value and harvest it. And
yeah,
in this area, those are going to be some fairly highly sought after parcels because of the traffic and just the general attention there.
Awesome, thanks. So this is a public hearing as well. We'll open this. If anyone would like to speak to this, please do so. Now's your chance. Okay, I'll close the public hearing portion of this. And you guys can I can look for a motion, or you can try to talk to the applicant if you want, or, I mean, it's up to you guys if you want to, or if you just want to approve it and move on. You've been here, you might as well stop and,
right.
You sat through it all.
Patrick Dara Rosenberg, I'm representing the applicant. Just to kind of touch on your question about the HOA, I believe he is doing a master HOA for this because each of these lots are going to have different investor groups. So he's got an investor for his hotel. He's got, him included, plus the other lots that are in there. So that's why we set up the cross-access easement, the shared parking, the drainage utilities. You can see all the utilities that are hatched in there. So there will most likely be an HOA for this.
Yeah, and I was just curious how
Yeah.
that worked, and that was my main concern is, because we see it all the time. I just was curious to how it works, so if this
Right, it
comes
looks
again.
kind of weird on here because you don't see any roads and parking lots and.
Yeah, or who owns what, and who's responsible.
So yeah,
But
right now it's still all under one ownership, but he's gonna.
But once he sells it off, then he'll create the HOA.
Yeah, he'll have the
Basically
HOA,
an HOA. I mean, it's just something that we're used to dealing with, however that works. So yeah, that's what I was curious about.
Yeah, so that's how that is gonna work.
Yeah, I was just curious how it worked.
Yep.
All right, Commissioner Davis, I'd like to make a motion to approve the amended final plat for the Primavera Commercial Partial Amendment, a subdivision located at 70 North Green Springs Drive, subject to findings and conditions as provided in the staff report.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I second.
First by Commissioner Davis, the second by Commissioner Mitchell. Individual voting, Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Bullock, I'm an aye as well. And that is approved. Item number 6 is adjournment. We'll look for a motion to adjourn, unless anyone has anything else to say.
This is Commissioner Mitchell. I move that we adjourn.
Commissioner Davis seconds.
I have a first by Commissioner Mitchell, second by Commissioner Davis. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, guys. See you in 2 weeks.